Anyway, anywho, now we get into our real shit. Now we're gonna get into some real shit. Okay. So I guess the first place we're going to go. So I started taking notice in certain. Well, before I even do that, right? Yeah. Matter of fact, we're gonna go from. I guess we're gonna go start from down south and work our way up to Colorado. Okay. So what I mean by that is I was looking at a map of things. Let me see if I can pull that map up again real quick for y'all. I had a map here. It kind of displays where Denver is, New Mexico is. Let's see what I still got it up here. Where Denver is, New Mexico, and Mexico itself on a map. Trying to see if I still got that little picture right there. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so let me move this in a little bit. Oop. Just so we have a better understanding on what we're talking about here. You zoom this out a little bit. Oh, not that far. Not that far. You see where. Okay. Literally, it's a straight line damn near, too. Chihuahua. Mexico, Colorado. It's damn near a straight line, too. So, what I'm getting at is, look at here on this world map, right? Here's where we're going to get into some shit. So, you see here, Colorado, right? Now, notice I've made directions right across. Because look, if you skip over Utah, which pretty much everybody knows there ain't really shit in Utah, right? It's nothing but mountains, literally. It's literally nothing but mountains and shit in Utah. It's a city there, of course, the city of Utah. Well, it's just the state of Utah, but there are cities there. Okay, it's not very much there in Utah. Salt Lake City up top, but again, not very much. So if you skate across, you have Nevada. Area 51 is right around these little borderlines here. That's where Area 51 is. It's literally only by flight. I don't know why they don't want to show it, but by flight, Denver to Colorado is literally only about an hour and 43 minutes, if that. An hour and 13 minutes, excuse me. About an hour and 20, 30 minutes, maybe. Give or take. Okay? Now, zoom out. You see New Mexico is right there, but then you have Mexico right here. The Grand Canyon is right around where? About here? Let me go up to Colorado again. Rio National Forest, Grand Mesa, White National Forest. Okay. So we're gonna look at a little thing called we're gonna look at something from the WI files real quick. And reason why I'm even harping on the Grand Canyon is because there are we can't see it, disregard. Okay. Oh, you guys can see it now? Okay, good. Reason why I'm going at the Grand Canyon in Colorado is because there are said to be some temples there. Now, when C.E. Kincaid went there, he pretty much was stopped by military vehicles when he went to the Grand Canyon and found some rather interesting things here. But before we watch that one, let's start from the south, shall we?
In July of 2019, an elite group of 20 soldiers from the Mexican military were sent on a covert operation in the state of Guanajuato. Their mission to seek out illegal marijuana plantations in the forests and Sierras and destroy them. But they got more than they bargained for. Now, according to a researcher of the name of Diana Merera Salazar, on the first night of their deployment, the troops began noticing something unnerving. From their campsite, they could hear eerie wails drifting through the forest. They sounded like someone in anguish, as if they were being horrifically tortured. Now, for most of these soldiers, these sounds reaffirmed everyone's conviction that they were tasked with a very important mission.
That wasn't no damn well, I'll tell you that much.
One that might rescue victims in immediate need. Others, however, were not so sure. They heard something different rising up from the forest that same night. They said it didn't sound like someone in pain. In fact, it didn't sound human at all. It sounded too gruff, too guttural, too animalistic. They listened, attempting to triangulate the location of the sounds, but the voices soon ended as abruptly as they had begun. Everyone uneasily settled into their sleeping bags and somehow managed to get a few hours of sleep before rising the following morning. After packing up their camp, they started again on their mission, looking for any sign of the drug producer's illegal operation. Now, only a few hours into the reconnaissance, one member of the group pointed out something odd. The forest was the exact opposite of how it had been last night. While the evening was filled with disturbing screams, the day was uncannily quiet. There was simply nothing to be heard. No animals, noises, bird calls, airplanes, not even wind, ladies and gentlemen. The only noise was the sound of their boots, tramping through the underbrush. This unsettling ambience continued all the way until nightfall. The men then made camp, and not long after sunset, the screams started once more. Alarmingly, they seemed to be much closer to camp than before. Although it was standard operating procedure to keep watch in shifts, and the men took this protocol more seriously than ever before, certain that some sort of enemy, human or inhuman, might fall upon them at any moment. But that moment, ladies and gentlemen, never came. As happened the night before, the screams just stopped. Now, the third day, the troops finally found what they had been looking for. They cleared the marijuana plantation, destroyed all the crops, and dismantling their hardware. Their job done, these soldiers began heading to their extraction point, taking a different route to prevent any possible ambushes by the cartels seeking revenge. Now, as luck would have it, this alternate path took them by a cave just as the sun was setting. It seemed like a good place as ever to set up camp. I mean, you had the rock walls providing ample protection from several different directions. Tents were then unpacked, sleeping bags rolled out, and security protocols established. Most of the men slept soundly, comforted by knowing that their job was done, and soon enough they would be back in civilization. For those unfortunate enough to stand guard, however, the hours passed long and uneventfully. That is, until 3 o'clock in the morning. Once more, the screams began filling the camp just as they had the previous 2 nights. The soldiers were spooked. No hostages had been found at the plantation. So where were these noises coming from? To their horror, the soldiers standing guard came to a startling realization.
Well, they found a cave that they shouldn't have at this point. So the military was a little bit late. This is the part he's not talking about. The military was actually late on extraction here. And because they were late on the extraction, the reason why they were late on the extraction was because they knew exactly what those soldiers were about to run into. So they started to actually call in a different set of extraction team because they knew what was about to come.
The voices, ladies and gentlemen, were coming from deeper within the cavern. In fact, the sounds were so loud, so present, that everybody was now wide awake, listening for the next cry of inhuman anguish. Now, sure enough, the sound came once more, closer than ever, echoing across the rocky surfaces within the cave. Their position was now compromised, giving them only two options: pack up and leave in the dead of night, picking their way slowly through a treacherous forest, or seek out the source of the sounds. The soldiers then split into two factions. You had one group that would remain behind at camp, while the other half would investigate the deeper recesses of the cavern. Weapons in hand, this unlucky crew stepped forward into the darkness. Now, for a long time, the only thing they could see was the splash of illumination from their flashlights on the walls, revealing nothing. Barren rock dripping with water. The soldiers would step forward, carefully pushing ahead, keeping an eye out not only for hostile enemies that they suspected were further inside, but also for more mundane threats like cave-ins and unstable footing beneath. Now, it seemed as if they would find nothing out of the ordinary, or I'm sure that's what they had hoped, until after several minutes of picking their way through the darkness, their flashlights hit something different than the dull gray of the walls. It was shiny, slick, and rubbery. Now, as the lights danced across the object, these soldiers couldn't believe their eyes. It was the green, scaly skin of something not normal, and it was lurking in the inky depths.
Green, scaly skin. Lurking in the inky depths. I wonder what those could be. Now, if y'all have been following on the channel before, you are not new to what you are about to hear.
The light revealed further details, each more horrifying than the next. A lizard-like face, claw-like hands, and an imposing height of the size of a fully grown man. Worst of all, ladies and gentlemen, it was not alone. One of the creatures appeared to be female. None of them were stationary. They clambered over the rocks with an agility no human being could muster, ducking out of the light to shield their eyes. Now, despite being hardened by years of military service and very expensive training, the soldiers just stood there in place, completely frozen, not knowing what to do. They weren't trained for this kind of scenario, and as it turned out, the decision would be made for them. Without warning, one of these things let out a scream, releasing the same blood-chilling vocalization that had haunted them the past few evenings. The monstrous cries alerted its companions, who all turned to face the poor group of soldiers. At first, they had no desire to engage these reptilian beings. The men simply ran as fast as they could out of the cavern, but turning and seeing how close their pursuers had drawn, one of the soldiers began to open fire. They all began unloading their weapons on the creatures, which, to their amazement, seemed completely unaffected by their rounds. Even when a direct hit was scored, the bullets seemed to ricochet off of them as if their skin was as hard as the walls of the cave. Now, one by one, the reptilians caught up with their prey. A soldier screamed, seized by these things, and then another, and by the time the third one was captured, the men had already begun yelling to each other about what they had seen, their friends missing arms, splayed out on the floor of the cave, their stomachs ripped apart. Finally, the soldiers tumbled out of the mouth of the cavern. Everyone who waited behind at camp was already on very high alert, having heard the screams and guns.
They fucked them up. They fucked them up. I tell you. You guts just hanging out, shit like a horror movie. They fucked them up. Rightfully so. What you doing snooping around in that damn cave? That's the real question. Y'all already knew the damn weed was gone. What y'all doing snooping around the damn cave? And see, that's the part where I start to ask questions. Who was y'all looking for? Y'all wasn't looking for no more weed. It wasn't in that damn cave. And you got what your asses were looking for.
Fire. The survivors began shouting commands, begging their comrades to send radio requests for air support and evacuation in between hurried breaths, describing what had transpired inside the cave. Some of the men in camp busied themselves complying with the orders. Others set up defensive perimeters, ready to defend themselves once these things stepped out into the open. Yet, for the first time all night, the soldiers were granted peace. None of the pursuers.
Now, yes, Dogman and reptilians are both real. I definitely believe that one too, Madman. Spot on. They definitely are real as well.
Dared to exit their subterranean dwelling. The soldiers stood there, firearms aimed at the darkness, sweat dripping down their face from a combination of exertion, fear, and the hot Mexican evening. They kept waiting to see their attackers, but they were only met with silence and darkness. Now, the tension of the scene was broken when, not even 10 minutes later, a helicopter appeared overhead. Everybody was relieved, at least at first. They soon realized the helicopter was all black and bore no designations identifying it as part of any Mexican military group. From the chopper came 4 individuals dressed in metallic black uniforms, wearing polarized visors that covered their faces. Now here's where it gets weird. They shouted at the soldiers, commanding them to stand down while they handled the situation. Some of them would later say that their voices sounded peculiar, as if they were heavily filtered or, more bizarrely, were not human at all. Now, after securing the area...
Now, that's where I said, okay, this was an unusual extraction team. Remember when I said before they delayed the extraction team to go get these boys? I said, wait a minute. This is in Mexico. This sounded like the extraction team they sent in the movies for Predator almost, damn near. Or Terminator almost. This is some sci-fi shit right here. But when I heard about that, I was like, wait a minute. Oh, they knew that they were going to use the new beta test. Remember, this is recent, okay? This isn't something that, it's ain't like way back in the day. This is recent. This was pretty much not even a psyop. This was pretty much if you want to call a beta drill for the super soldiers. That's what this sounds like. It was a beta drill for the super soldiers to be used in extraction. And needless to say, successful mission.
A quartet of these bizarre, mysterious rescuers entered the cave, and soon after, the inhuman shrieks they had become so accustomed to welled up once more, accompanied by quick, efficient bursts of gunfire. All fell quiet. The Mexican soldiers waited, unsure of what they should do. At last, the 4 operatives who had entered the cave reemerged. 2 of them were each dragging one of the creature's corpses, while the other 2 stepped forward to address the commanding officer of the original soldiers. In no uncertain terms, the new soldiers told the commander that they were functioning under the authority of the Mexican government. They also made it abundantly clear that they knew the identities of every soldier in the detachment and that they were under no circumstances to ever share anything about what happened that night during that mission. If they did, well, we know how that would go. They would all end up committing suicide.
I wonder why. Now, reason why I'm sharing this is because, like I said, if we're looking on the map, Mexico is directly underneath New Mexico, right? And if it's right up under New Mexico, right on top of New Mexico is Denver, Colorado, right? What it do, Fast Life? What it do, my brother? So right on top of that would be Colorado, right? So we're going straight up from Mexico, New Mexico to Colorado, right? Follow me along here. Across, like I said earlier, right across about an hour away from Colorado, Area 51. Following? Now, as far as Colorado goes, got something special for y'all as far as what's in the Grand Canyon.
In 1908, President Teddy Roosevelt wanted to declare the Grand Canyon off limits to all timber and mining operations. It would take another 11 years for Congress to designate the Grand Canyon a national park. Sensing a final opportunity for adventure, explorer G.E. Kincaid took a boat down the Colorado River and through the Grand Canyon.
Now, reason why we're looking at the Grand Canyon is because there are, and I kid you, I shit you not, the Grand Canyon literally has temples that are named after ancient goddesses. Right? I'll name some. I'll name some for you. Okay? We have Shiva Temple. Okay? We have Buddha Temple. We have Osiris Temple, Isis Temple, just to name a few. The Krishna Temple. I started asking myself, why the fuck were all these things named after temples? Why? Why are all of these things named after temples? Right, everything they want to hide is off fucking limits. Everything they want to hide is off limits. Everything. So, why are they hiding shit in the Grand Canyon? Then I asked myself, wait a minute. The Grand Canyon is right there in Colorado. Denver, Colorado makes me think of Denver International Airport. Denver International Airport has a Freemason headstone that says New World Airport. There's a whole underground city in Denver Airport. What the fuck are they hiding in the Grand Canyon?
The canyon was rich in minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and Kincaid wanted to see what he could find before the area was closed off for good. About 40 miles upriver from the El Tovar Crystal Canyon, Kincaid saw stains in the sediment formation about 2,000 feet up. He tied off the boat and got out to investigate. Kincaid couldn't find a trail, but after a short hike, he found something interesting covered in desert brush. Steps, hundreds of them, carved in sandstone, steps that wound their way up to a high shelf on the side of the canyon. He followed the steps until he came across a cavern entrance, an entrance that was clearly man-made. Kincaid entered the cavern and turned on his flashlight. On the walls, he saw writing, but it wasn't English or Native American writing. It was ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Kincaid lifted his flashlight and saw that the tunnel ran far into the distance. He didn't realize it at the time, but this was only the beginning.
Trust me when I tell you, Fast Life, Antarctica gonna take me 3 hours in itself. Trust me when I tell you. I know it's some shit in Antarctica, but it's a lot of Antarctica. That's gonna take me that's gonna take a whole episode itself.
When G.E. Kincaid tied off his small wooden boat to investigate the strange coloration of the rock wall, he was hoping to find clues that would lead him to a mineral deposit. He wasn't expecting to find hieroglyphics. When Kincaid noticed chisel marks in the walls, he drew his pistol, turned on another light, and slowly walked deeper into the gloom. He kept detailed notes of everything he saw.
The main passageway is about 12 feet wide, narrowing to 9 feet toward the farther end. About 57 feet from the entrance, the first side passages branch off to the right and left, along which on both sides are a number of rooms about the size of ordinary living rooms of today, though some are 30 by 40 feet square. These are entered by oval-shaped doors and are ventilated by round air spaces through the walls into the passages. The walls are about 3 feet 6 inches in thickness. The passages are chiseled or hewn as straight as could be laid out by an engineer. The ceilings of many of the rooms converge to a center. The side passages near the entrance run at a sharp angle from the main hall, but toward the rear they gradually reach a right angle.
Realized he was in a huge complex. He estimated that as many as 50,000 people could have lived here. In some rooms he found granaries with shelves of glazed pottery, many of which still contain seeds. He found cooking areas and a huge dining hall. The rooms were full of ancient artifacts. Kincaid carefully wrapped a few small metal and ceramic objects for later study. Another large room, Kincaid...
A whole damn civilization inside of that cave in the Grand Canyon. And hieroglyphics on the wall. Come on now. And all of these places are named after temples. Krishna temple, Buddha temple, Shiva temple, Osiris temple, Isis temple, the Tower of Set. All this shit is in the Grand fucking Canyon. And I said to myself, why is all this named in the Grand Canyon? What the fuck are they hiding there? Lo and behold, Mr. Kincaid goes and finds an ancient civilization all in the damn Grand Canyon.
Described as an area for metalwork, a technology that should...
Yes, America is really Little Egypt. It is so much shit that is underneath here. God damn it, wait till we get really into Hollow Earth.
...not have existed in this area.
Here are found tools of all descriptions made of copper. These people undoubtedly knew the lost art of hardening this metal, which has been sought by chemicals for centuries without result. On a bench running around the workroom was some charcoal and other material probably used in the process. There's also slag and stuff similar to mat, showing that these ancients smelted ores, but so far no trace of where or how this was done has been discovered, nor the origin of the ore.
G.E. Kincaid explored the underground complex for several hours, still having no idea when this place was used, what it was used for, or who the builders were. Then he came across another large room, a crypt. The crypt had shelf upon shelf and row upon row of mummies, dozens of them. At this point, G.E. Kincaid realized that if he was going to explore this entire underground city, he was going to need help. G.E. Kincaid sent a few artifacts to the Smithsonian along with his notes of what he found. He requested financial and logistical support for what he felt was the most significant archaeological discovery ever made. The Smithsonian agreed. A few weeks later, Professor S.A. Jordan arrived with a team of about 40 scientists, researchers, and laborers to excavate and explore the ancient underground city. Now with more lights and manpower, the scientists realized that the cave system layout wasn't random.
At all. And this is about to sound like the little boy that cried wolf with Mr. Kincaid, unfortunately. America is baby Solomon and Solomon and Gomorrah, aka Babylon. Yes, America literally is Babylon. If you notice in the Matrix, that is what they literally called it. Right? Babylon.
Was a symmetrical, deliberate design. The tunnels all led to a central chamber. In the chamber was a large statue of what Kincaid thought looked like Buddha.
Like butter.
Buddha.
What I say.
Over 100 feet from the entrance is the cross hall, several hundred feet long, in which are found the idol or image of the people's god, sitting cross-legged with a lotus flower or lily in each hand. The cast of this face is oriental, and the carving in this cavern. The idol almost resembles Buddha, though the scientists are not certain as to what religious worship it represents.
You ain't got to. They literally have the Buddha temple named in the Grand Canyon.
Taking into consideration everything found thus far, it is possible that this worship most resembles the ancient people of Tibet.
No, I didn't think we were allowed to say Oriental. Are we bringing that back?
We're not. This was written over 100 years ago. So.
Oh, right, when we had freedom of speech.
No, Oriental in this context just means Eastern.
Ah.
Because of this discovery, Kincaid's team started calling the complex the Citadel. The crypt was one of the bigger rooms discovered. Now, with enough light, Kincaid was able to fully describe what he saw.
The walls slant back at an angle of about 35 degrees. On these are tiers of mummies, each one occupying a separate hewn shelf. At the head of each is a small bench, on which is found copper cups and pieces of broken swords. Some of the mummies are covered with clay, and all are wrapped in a bark fabric. The urns or cups on the lower tiers are crude, while as the higher shelves are reached, the urns are finer in design, showing a later stage of civilization. It is worthy of note that all the mummies examined so far have proved to be male, no children or females being buried here. This leads to the belief that this exterior section was the warriors' barracks.
Kincaid, Jordan, and the Smithsonian team explored the entire cave complex. They were overwhelmed with evidence that this was not some faraway temple occupied by a few priests. This was a huge city lived in by thousands of men, women, and children for hundreds or possibly thousands of years. The question nobody could answer was, who were they? By the end of the expedition, G.E. Kincaid and Professor Jordan's team had discovered hundreds of rooms, barracks, granaries, metalworking shops, temples, and many, many living quarters. Though most of the rooms were empty, thousands of artifacts were found. They found swords and shields made of copper, bronze, and a gray metal that scientists couldn't identify. They thought it looked like platinum. They found pottery, urns, utensils for cooking, small yellow stones called cat's eyes, and large stone tablets, all engraved with hieroglyphics.
Again, this is all inside of the... I want y'all to all remember, this is from him going inside of the Grand Canyon, okay? The Grand Canyon literally has temples that are named after Egyptian culture. This is astonishing right here. Because, like I said, this is right next to the Denver fucking airport. So I can only imagine when you have the underground tunnel leading directly into this shit.
On all the urns or walls over doorways and tablets of stone which were found by the image are the mysterious hieroglyphics, the key to which the Smithsonian Institute hopes yet to discover. The engraving on the tablets probably has something to do with the religion of the people. Similar hieroglyphics have been found in southern Arizona. Among the pictorial writings, only 2 animals are found. One is of prehistoric type.
Even with all the relics and all the writing Kincaid and Jordan found, they were still no closer to determining who built the citadel in the Grand Canyon. They thought some of the statues looked Tibetan, but they weren't quite right. They thought the writing looked Egyptian. Again, that wasn't quite right. There were experts on site, none of whom could identify the statues or translate any of the text. But there were 2 things that the researchers could agree on. One, the civilization that built the citadel was very advanced, far more advanced than the native tribes that occupied the area for a few thousand years. This now lost civilization worked bronze many years before the Bronze Age began.
This was definitely Anunnaki workings. This was not just reptilian work. This was not a reptilian workings. This was more so Anunnaki workings. That's what I'm getting at.
Understood division of labor and agriculture when every other society on Earth was presumably still hunting and gathering. These are discoveries that went against everything that was taught in mainstream archaeology and anthropology. A civilization like this shouldn't exist.
Oh, what was the second thing?
What?
Oh, you said the eggheads agreed on 2 things. What was the second thing?
Right. They agreed that the civilization that built the citadel in the Grand Canyon didn't emerge there locally. This civilization arrived there from the other side of the world. Kincaid and Professor Jordan sent boxes of artifacts and books full of notes and drawings back to the Smithsonian, along with their hypothesis that an ancient civilization existed in the Grand Canyon thousands of years before Native Americans arrived in North America. These people were technologically advanced, educated, skilled, and spiritually complex. And these people originated somehow in Egypt or Asia. Kincaid wanted more resources and a larger team to help them research the citadel and search the Grand Canyon for more evidence of this lost civilization. Their request was denied, and G.E. Kincaid and Professor S.A. Jordan were never heard from again.
Son of a...
So Mr. Kincaid pretty much got vanished to oblivion. They said, oh, like I said, this is a little boy that cried wolf. So pretty much he asked for some more supplies and said, yo, we need, you know what I'm saying? A little bit more help over here. We done found some shit now. You know what? You're right. You done found some shit. Bye-bye. That's pretty much what they did to Mr. Kincaid.
Northern Arizona is one of the most spectacular natural wonders on Earth, the Grand Canyon. Carved over millions of years by the Colorado River, the Grand Canyon is more than just a pretty landscape and a spot for tourists to take selfies. It's a place of deep spiritual significance for the people who've lived in the area. The Hopi, Navajo, Zuni, Apache, and several other tribes have lived around the Grand Canyon for several thousand years. They still do. Hopi mythology says that from the Grand Canyon, the first people of the world entered. The story says that many thousands of years ago, a reptilian race emerged.
Lizard people!
Yep.
Hey, how many times do lizard people have to come up in these stories before you believe in him?
I guess I'm gonna need a few more.
Lizard people are gonna keep popping up. You'll see.
Thousands of years ago, a reptilian race,
Lizard people.
lizard people, emerged from the Grand Canyon and changed into humans.
Lizard people are shapeshifters.
That would seem to be true. Other Pueblo cultures like the Zuni and the Acoma have similar legends that there were people there before the tribes.
Lizard people legends?
Well, some legends say reptilians were there. Other legends say a race of giants were there.
Ooh.
And there are rumors that skeletons of giants have been discovered all over the western United States, but the evidence has been suppressed.
Suppressed by who?
The Smithsonian.
Of course.
Something I've learned from doing the show is that all myths and legends do carry a little bit of truth. We already have evidence that people landed in North America before Columbus. The Vikings famously explored and settled parts of Newfoundland 500 years before the quote-unquote New World was quote-unquote discovered. And there's growing evidence that ancient Chinese explorers landed in North and South America before the Vikings. But landing on the east or west coast of America is one thing. Getting to the Grand Canyon is a whole other thing. How could people get there? And even if they could, how did they have the technology to excavate millions of tons of rock in order to build an entire underground city? Well, we may have known the answer to that question for 1,000 years. Traveling from Europe and Asia to America thousands of years ago was almost impossible. Almost. Many brave people did it. But traveling to the Grand Canyon is a much more difficult task than landing on a California beach. To get to and build in the Grand Canyon requires technology. The Hopi have a very intriguing legend about the ant people. These are humanoid creatures that are smaller than humans with pale skin and large eyes like an insect.
Aliens.
According to legend, a series of cataclysms hit the earth many thousands of years ago.
Younger Dryas.
The Hopi were on the verge of being destroyed. A sky god emerged from what they called a moving star.
UFO.
The sky god brought the Hopi to the ant people, who escorted them to underground caves for protection. The sky god then got back into his moving star and flew off above the clouds. The Paiute have a legend about the Havmusuvs. They're usually described as being humanoid in shape with golden skin and large eyes.
Aliens.
They lived in a vast underground city and traded with faraway people. They possessed weapons that the Paiute described as silver tubes that shot lightning and can kill a man instantly.
Phases.
And the most interesting part of the Havmusuv legend? They supposedly flew silver canoes in the sky.
UFOs.
These craft made a humming sound and could maneuver like an eagle and move at great speeds. Most ancient cultures have a flood myth. They describe a global disaster that melted the ice caps and caused sea level to rise 400 feet. Entire cities were wiped out, maybe even entire continents.
Atlantis.
Most of these flood myths also talk about how, after the waters receded, a godlike people came down from the sky. These gods gave humans the gift of civilization and taught them things they had forgotten before the Great Flood. Things like writing, astronomy, and agriculture. Could the city in the Grand Canyon be evidence of this time in history? And if it is, why would anyone want to suppress it? All the information in today's episode comes from 2 front-page articles from the Phoenix Gazette published in 1909. In the years since, mainstream researchers have decided that the articles were a hoax, a fantastic story designed to sell newspapers.
19th century clickbait.
Yep.
The media hasn't changed much.
Exactly. You see how they tried to flip the script on that one? Not at all.
Unfortunately, that's true. But many people believe the story is real, and the Smithsonian is covering it up.
Smithsonian Public Relations, Marion speaking.
Hold on. Hello?
Hello?
He tried to even see himself.
Sorry, I was on hold a long time.
How can I help you?
He pretty much tried to test it himself just to see.
They transferred me to Marion.
Yes, this is Marion.
Okay, great. My name is AJ, and I'm with the Y-Files. We're a YouTube channel that covers mysteries.
Did you say you're from YouTube?
The Y-Files is a channel on YouTube, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to talk to you about an article that was in the Phoenix, Arizona Gazette in 1909, and they sent me to you. I was hoping to ask you a couple of questions about that.
Okay, let me stop you. No Egyptian artifacts of any kind have ever been found in North or South America.
Sounds like you've given that speech before.
Yeah.
Notice how she knew to even answer that, right? The media is run by Illuminati. Notice how, yes, definitely so, madman. she knew to already answer and say no Egyptian artifacts were found down there in the Smithsonian. So how did you just know randomly to answer that before I even got a chance to ask that? Because you know I'm just some interviewer, right? But you know I've also been doing my research on shit. So now all of a sudden you know that I'm going to ask you about these Egyptian artifacts. But furthermore, how much more do you know about these Egyptian artifacts? Or why are you telling me not to ask that you don't know?
I get this call a couple of times a year. I can tell you that the Smithsonian has never been involved in anything like this in the Grand Canyon or anywhere.
So, G.E. Kincaid?
There's no record of anyone by that name ever working for the Smithsonian. The whole thing is a hoax.
Yeah, that's the prevailing belief, but the Smithsonian has been accused of covering this up, so...
Yeah, I don't have a response to that.
You probably don't want to talk about giants or giant skeletons, huh?
And goodbye.
That's the official story. Kincaid's cave is a hoax, so no reason to try and find it. Nothing to see here. Even Kincaid himself wanted to keep people out.
First, I would impress that the cavern is nearly inaccessible. The entrance is 1,486 feet down the sheer canyon wall. It is located on government land and no visitor will be allowed there under penalty of trespass. The scientists wish to work unmolested, without fear of archaeological discoveries being disturbed by curio or relic hunters. A trip there would be fruitless, and the visitor would be sent on his way.
Whether at the request of the Smithsonian or just to protect his find, it was clear that Kincaid wanted to dissuade people from finding the citadel. But even over 100 years later, that wouldn't stop people from trying. And some of those people, they say they found it. Jerry Wills and his wife Kathy have been studying the Kincaid Cave mystery for years. Their approach was find the original base camp of the explorers, which would lead them to the cave. After years of research and exploring the area where G.E. Kincaid said he found the cave, Jerry and Kathy found a location covered in artifacts from that time. And on the canyon wall just below this area, they believe is the entrance to the underground city. Exploring is difficult though. The entire area where the cave is supposed to be is designated off-limits by the federal government.
Yo, I saw that coming.
About 1,000 caves have been discovered in the Grand Canyon, many of them man-made, but only about 30 have been mapped, and many of those have been sealed.
Ooh, I close them off.
Oh, for your safety.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I don't buy the safety excuse either. There are plenty of people who'd be willing to take the risk, and they'd be willing to sign a waiver that says the government isn't responsible if something happens. In fact, people have tried this. The government still says no, it's too dangerous.
How nice of the government to look out for us.
Isn't that nice? Then why is it legal to jump out of a plane or ride a roller coaster or drive a car? Some things in life are dangerous, but they're still worth doing. Some other caves in the Grand Canyon have been blocked by steel gates. They say this is to protect the bat population.
Whoa. Did you say bats? We have to protect the bats?
That's what they say.
Well, haven't bats caused enough problems these last few years? Allegedly.
Still, people are willing to risk a fine or imprisonment to find the lost city in the Grand Canyon. But anyone who goes looking should expect a response. When Jerry and Kathy's team tried to explore the area, suddenly an unmarked plane appeared. Clearly, they were being watched. Despite this part of the Grand Canyon being a no-fly zone, and the fact that no aircraft is allowed to fly below the rim, a plane appeared. Jerry Wills is convinced this was a warning. His team was unable to continue their expedition. Exploring the cave from above is almost impossible. But what about exploring it from below, as G.E. Kincaid did? Another group of explorers tried this. As they approached the location, a black helicopter showed up.
So real quick, notice how that also comes out too, right? Now black helicopter is showing up again. Same thing that happened to Kincaid. Same thing that happened to Kincaid where we're like, yo, what y'all doing over there? What y'all doing down there? Or should I say the other archaeologists, I meant to say. In Mexico. The same military people that came, same type of military vehicle showed up, right? Now, as far as the Mandela effect, it can correlate to this. If you think about it, it can very much correlate to this right here. So, give you an example, right? How people, there was actually, I wish I could pull that video up too. There was a woman who actually believes, there's people that believe in reincarnation, right? And there was this little girl that pretty much had bumped her head. She pretty much died, right? Long story short, the little girl bumped her head, died. And minutes later, after the doctor actually came there and evaluated her dead, they saw her again in the room, playing as if she'd never even passed out and like that. Then her other body had disappeared. Lo and behold, she went to a museum, and the little girl just couldn't stop being in the museum because she was literally remembering all of her past being in Egypt. So apparently she was some princess in her mind. And she was just remembering different things of her past. And when her parents tried to get her out of the museum, she threw a temper tantrum. She was saying, that was my people. That's my people. I can remember back then. That's my people. So I pretty much do believe in the Mandela effect. And there's a couple of different people that, shout out to King Ozma, myself. It's different people that have different, things that they can remember but can't necessarily explain. It's definitely very real. Definitely very real. The mind's eye. What it do, my brother? Pull up the CIA Adam and Eve story. All life begins in America, and you just provided that. Yes, just to prove it. Yeah. So another thing is another thing coinciding with that whole CIA Adam and Eve story. So we actually watched if you remember on the channel, the Iron Sky Coming Race as well. And specifically the Anki and Enlil story actually talked about the Adam and Eve situation as well. So without getting too far off the subject of this, definitely that is I definitely know about that as well with the CIA. Let's just say that.
Not a tourist helicopter, not even a black civilian helicopter, an Apache combat helicopter. When this team explored the area above looking for the ventilation shafts Kincaid wrote about, and possibly a way down, they found cement blocks in the middle of nowhere. Some of these blocks are platforms near the edge of the rim with hardware and anchors that would be used to assist mountaineers. When asked about this, the authorities say these are reinforcing structures to prevent rockfalls. Also in this forbidden zone, rock formations have unusual names. There's Isis Temple, Tower of Set, Horus, the Cheops Pyramid, and Ra. There's also the Manu Temple, the Buddha Temple, the Krishna Temple, and the Shiva Temple, and many more names that refer to ancient Egyptian and Hindu cultures. Cultures that specifically...
See what I mean? Even the Shiva... There's so many different temples down there that you can't help but question and wonder what the fuck is even going on. Shout out to UBTV. Yes. Egypt is America. What it do, leg of pill? What it do? It just made me wonder. Cause I'm like, okay, Arizona's right there. Like I said, you look on the map, Arizona's right there. If you say southwest of Colorado, right? Just a little shot southwest of Colorado is the Grand Canyon. You move right on across from that, diagonal northeast is the fucking Denver airport. Okay? It's an hour and a half away. It's fucking Denver airport by flight. You see what I'm saying? If the tunnels were that damn deep in the Grand Canyon, from what he talking about in this documentary right here, if the tunnels were that damn deep, they could easily lead to Denver airport. Easily lead there.
Typically have myths about a god helping civilization after the Great Flood. The official word is the fact that these names exist within the Grand Canyon's no-go zone is a coincidence. But I don't really believe in those.
Who does? And furthermore, to back this up. Okay.
Denver International Airport holds some of the most bizarre conspiracies you've ever heard. From underground tunnels and secret societies to the infamous Blucifer, known for its hot red eyes and cold blue skin. This web of mysteries gets thicker as you crawl toward the center. One of the concerning stories begins with the creator of the popular sculpture, Blucifer. In 1992, the Blue Mustang was commissioned to Luis Jimenez for $300,000, but was not erected at Denver Airport until 2008. You see, Jimenez suffered medical setbacks due to health issues. To make matters worse, one day he had a heart attack, and much sooner, he would require surgeries on his hands. Throughout this period, Denver airport officials had been waiting to display the Mustang, and quite frankly, they had run out of patience. After many missed deadlines, the city sued Jimenez for the $165,000 it had paid him up front. He countersued. The agreement reached was for Jimenez to complete the sculpture. However, on the 13th of June 2006, while Jimenez was working on the statue, one of the large sections of the Mustang hoisted above him fell, pinning him down like a small rabbit caught in a giant owl's grasp. He bled to death on the spot. Now, some reports say it was the torso, and others say it was the hindquarters. Would you call this a coincidence? One of the sculptures in his studio depicts the scene flawlessly. Nonetheless, the sculpture was unveiled in Denver 2 years later, after his death. Being the
Now, ain't that some shit? Now, I'm not no, as they say, conspiracy theorist, but one would say that is a sacrifice happening. Literally, a sacrifice ritual as the studio is being made.
Creator of the sculpture, news of Jimenez's death spread, causing rumors and brand new conspiracies. But upon further scrutiny, are these even conspiracies? Or could they be real? Here's a quick tour. As you approach Denver's mysterious airport, you might feel a little uneasy. The modern building rises up from the flat Colorado plains, like a futuristic castle. Its sharp angles and tall points reach up towards the sky, giving it a somewhat strange and interesting appearance. That looks oddly familiar. When you enter the terminal, you'll notice a modern and sleek design. The air is thick with...
What had happened? What it do, my brother? What it do? What it do? What had happened, blog? So, yeah, the nerve of them to even do that right after the man passed away. The nerve of them to do that. It's always had the weird history. It's always had its weird history. And as soon as I saw that blue horse, when it first got put up, I said, what in the hell are they doing with an apocalyptic horse as their statue? That was the very first sign to me. Is what are you doing with an apocalyptic horse with red eyes and blue at that? Being the statue of your airport.
A hum of fluorescent lights. A big mural called New World Order dominates the wall with strange symbols and imagery that spark whispers of secret societies and government plots. Look up, and you'll see creepy stone gargoyles perched on top of the pillars.
My apologies.
Their eyes seem to glow intensely, as if warning travelers of the unknown forces that might be lurking in the airport's corridors. While many of Denver Airport's secrets are hidden from view, others are openly displayed. This is Leo Tanguma, the artist responsible for the creation of two controversial murals. Children of the World, Dream of Peace, depicts contrasting scenes. One section shows a soldier wielding weapons amidst scenes of war and death, while the other section portrays children from around the world laying down their weapons and coming together in peace. His second mural, Peace and Harmony with Nature, shows children mourning environmental destruction and extinction in one section, while the other portrays children working together to restore and celebrate nature. Tanguma himself has said these murals express a desire for global peace and harmony with nature. However, some viewers have focused on the themes of war, death, and destruction, interpreting the artworks as containing hidden messages about the apocalypse and a future tyrannical government. Much later, a photographic series documenting Denver's airport construction by Alex Sweetman's Art Chronicles raised a few brows. You see,
watch this
while
shit right
many
here.
of his photos capture beautiful scenes, one photo of a field of dead sunflowers caused unease. Is it a coded message about something sinister, or simply a reflection of the changing seasons? But here's the giant question. Why are these works in an airport? If you ever visited Denver Airport, you could miss the two small gargoyles perched in the east and west baggage claim areas. Compared to the huge...
Now, besides that, right, there are gargoyles pretty much all over that airport. It's not just the two that's in the front. It's mad gargoyles all over that whole damn airport, which damn near makes it look like a castle almost. That's pretty much eerie in itself. Why do you have a bunch of gargoyle statues that are just all over the goddamn airport on top of the Blue Horse being outside? It just gets more and more eerie about the shit. And then you have the dying flowers and shit. Like, it's just death. Why is death become me with this fucking airport?
Blue Horse and the giant murals, these lovely sculptures don't quite stand out. But
since then, they have added some pretty, and I mean pretty, questionable murals there. Let me see. Let me show you just the name of it. Matter of fact, I showed a couple that were in the I showed a couple. I just want to see if I can pull up the new ones. The new ones that are there. So look at this. Why is this here? Why do you have any type of portrait like this in an airport? Look at this. Why would you have this in an airport? It's just little things that would stick out to you. Blue Horse, same blue that the lasers can destroy. Yeah. Denver Airport mural is a symbol. Signs of the world. America's fault. Yes, America's fault. The Book of Revelations. What do you call it? The blue horse of the pale horse of apocalypse. The blue pale horse of apocalypse. That is exactly that. That's exactly that.
These stone creatures have been a common feature in religious architecture for centuries, including the famous Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. However, some visitors have misinterpreted these particular gargoyles as symbols of evil rather than benevolent guardians, the airport claims. Shortly after people's complaints, talking gargoyles were installed. Yeah, not weird at all.
So you hear complaints. Reminds me about the odd art all throughout the yeah. And the crazy thing is, it's not just graffiti anymore. It's some weird shit down there too. And I keep telling people to get the fuck out of New York because it's some shit that's gonna go down there soon. It's some shit that's gonna go down there in New York City soon. That's basically the military is walking around there not even 10 years ago. About 7 to 10 years ago, literally told me, said, "Oh, we are doing a drill." A drill for what? Excuse me, a drill for what in the middle of Manhattan? Okay, I don't need to know anything else except for you doing a drill. However, I just need to tell my people to get the fuck out of here. But that's kind of crazy that you would install talking gargoyles after you hear complaints of the gargoyles being there. Now you want to make them talk? Now you just trying to blatantly scare people in there. You pretty much don't even give a fuck with that point.
That's a little too close for comfort, lady.
Oh, damn.
What, you never seen a talking gargoyle before? Welcome to Illuminati headquarters. I mean, Denver International Airport.
Why the fuck would a damn why would your statue do that? That's not no made up video. That's actually in the fucking airport that the statue did that. Welcome to Illuminati Airport. I mean, Denver International Airport. Why would the gargoyle say that? You can't make this shit up.
Some viewers found the statue as a good addition, and others not so much. The most clever trick Lucifer ever played on human beings is to convince them he doesn't exist. Another user said, "Hide in plain sight so that they never question it." Genius. The crazy part about this is, it could be a real gargoyle, and people couldn't tell the difference.
This is awesome.
Hello? Do I know you?
Are you hungry?
Oh, I'm starving. You got anything for me? Those flowers look delicious.
Oh my God. Oh, it's because of the conspiracy.
Oh, it's because of the conspiracy. Look at me. I'm a little know-it-all. Will you get back over here? I got a question about this conspiracy. Did you have to buy an extra seat for your hat, sir? Sir, are you stealing a desk? Sir, you have resting, confused face. Do you have a favorite animal or pet?
A caterpillar.
A caterpillar? Wouldn't you rather have a gargoyle?
No!
Yes! You know, you can actually put the phone down and have a conversation with me. But no, I'm a millennial. I've got to post it. I've got to snap face it and Twitter book it.
You got a talking gargoyle, and obviously it's somebody that's in a machine and underneath the podium right there, just sitting there. He's probably just sitting down, pretty much inside the statue, just having a conversation with everybody that just walks by with a camera. And that's, like I said, why are you creeping? It's not even creeping people out. It's the point where you making jokes with the shit now that you an Illuminati gargoyle. That's the wild part.
You might think some of these are bogus or wild claims at best, but there are some theories that are sure to leave you scrambling. In 1995, Denver's primary airport, Stapleton, was replaced by DIA. At this time, conspiracies surrounding the airport argued that Stapleton was perfectly fine and didn't need replacement, although there is one undeniable fact.
Did anybody notice with the initials just now, DIA? Am I tripping? What's before the letter D?
Stapleton's runway layout was flawed. The parallel runways were positioned too close together, compromising safety during bad weather conditions, which occurred approximately 150 days a year. This problem led to a huge reduction in hourly arrivals, from 80 to 36. In contrast, Denver's runway design avoids this issue, but it does have a distinct feature above ground. Can you see it? While this might be dismissed as poor planning, it takes...
So, on top of that, let me just run it back real quick, right? On top of the swastika, you see this look like a reptilian egg almost? Or reptilian head shape almost?
Denver's
but
runway
that's just
design
my
avoids this issue, but it does have a distinct feature above ground. Can you see it? While this...
A swastika right there. Now, yeah, DE. That's another thing. I think of DE as well, but I thought of CI as well.
Might be dismissed as poor planning.
Why do you have a swastika here? So, why do you literally have a swastika in your airport plans? Very and yes, that was definitely something looked like a reptilian. I'm just saying, there's just certain shit that they got in these layouts. Good eye, mind eye. The Naga symbol. Good eye. It's just so much that's just right there, though. And crazy. I was just talking to King Ozma about that too, about them corrupting the Mayans.
It takes on a more serious tone when combined with other unusual aspects of the airport. Now you finally arrive at baggage claim, home to massive murals by Leo Tanguma, children of the world dream of peace, and in peace and harmony with nature. These might sound like uplifting themes, but the artwork itself tells a different story, one of death, destruction, and despair.
Dog. You see this right here on the outline right there? You see that cobra snake? Okay. So I know I ain't tripping. I know I'm not tripping. Right? Show you something. You see how that looks like a cobra snake right here? Look, this like a cobra snake. Right? So I know I'm not tripping. That is a cobra snake. Am I bugging? Or am I not bugging? So, if I'm not bugging, why is it when I Google Code Cobra Military Denver, I get what is USERA Military Leave Benefits Protection? I get Cobra Help. Where's Cobra Help for the military? In Denver, Colorado. Am I bugging? You have the damn serpent in the blueprint. There's a cobra in the blueprint. I know I ain't tripping.
Soldiers with death masks wield guns as children cower in fear, and the world lies in ruins. Some people also believe these artworks depict doomsday scenarios. The DIA is a hub for biological warfare. One viewer said, but Tanguma himself has revealed that his murals are meant to be hopeful, describing a world where children dream of peace and harmony. Well, that's one way to put it. The narrative might end on a high note, but it's hard to shake off the feeling of unease that flows throughout these works. The most ambitious theory yet might be that Denver International Airport is the headquarters for an underground government, with rumors of hidden tunnels below the airport. Which begs the question, where do these mysterious tunnels lead? Are they secretly connected to an underground bunker, hidden from prying eyes? Have you clicked the subscribe button for more mystery documents?
But see, that's the thing. It's not just that, right? It ain't just the underground bunkers. We literally just, and yes, please subscribe to homie. We literally just, the nerve center for a sinister. Oh, anyway, we literally just saw where the Grand Canyon was, right? We literally just saw where the Grand Canyon was, right? It has to lead there. It has to lead to them underground temples right there. It's no way you're not telling me it doesn't, with all this symbolism right around the airport like this.
Itself. You might think that's far-fetched. Well, there are buried buildings beneath the airport. Now that's a pretty strange coincidence. Are they hiding something? Flash backwards to 2007. A whistleblowing construction worker alleged that some project was delayed because at least 5 multi-story buildings were completed and then mysteriously buried underneath the airport. A few days later, he and some co-workers also testified to the existence of a complex network of underground tunnels. But on the 16th of February that year, something strange happened. Reports say the windshields of 13 planes cracked while at Denver Airport, a staggering number that left experts baffled, and not a single explanation in sight. The weather was ruled out, and our birds weren't the culprits either. What do you think was behind this incident? Was this evidence of a nearby testing facility, or something else? The truth remains behind a fog of mystery. Another step into the fog, and you arrive at Denver Airport's tunnel system. You see, Denver had 2 standard connecting concourses, but they wanted something different, an automated baggage system. This project raised more questions than answers, costing more than $560 million. The system was supposed to streamline baggage handling, but it failed miserably during testing and never recovered. What's even more baffling is that it was abandoned by most concourses by 2005, despite its hefty price tag. So, what was the real motive behind this failed project? Was it just a clever cover for something more devious, like the construction of secret tunnels? Flash forwards to the present, and some disputes have surfaced challenging every major theory. You see, early on, one of the most intriguing theories about Denver Airport was that its runways resembled a swastika, and at first glance there seems to be a likeness to the notorious symbol. But as we dig deeper, the real
I knew I wasn't tripping when I saw that damn swastika.
reason behind this design becomes straightforward. The design of the runways is actually a clever way to maximize efficiency and minimize disruptions during bad weather or strong winds. Spreading out the runways this way, with multiple sections, would allow for simultaneous use, reducing the need for shutdowns and smoother traffic flow. Now take a closer look at the runway. This time, what do you see? Our brains are wired to seek patterns, and the airport's design creates a sense of recognition, but upon closer inspection, the swastika loses its shape. Remember that the elements traced in the graphic were chosen to best define the expected pattern, not because of their importance. Even then, many elements must be ignored to maintain the illusion of a swastika. So, is this really a sinister plot, or just a smart design solution? Another bogus claim was about the New World Order. The dedication capstone at Denver Airport features a Masonic crest.
Like, why do you have that there? Like, of all of the, like, so besides everything else, besides you leading to the Grand Canyon with temples and underground bunkers and tunnels and gargoyles that talk to you saying that we are the Illuminati airport, besides people dying while they making shit, besides the apocalyptic horse outside the you have this. Besides the murals and shit, you got this just sitting right there. Just sitting right in the middle of the damn airport.
And mentions the New World Airport Commission, which has sent conspiracy theorists into a frenzy. According to them, the New World Airport Commission is just a cover for the big bad, the Freemasons. Century-old secret society pulling the strings with major ties to the New World Order, a group of global elites who wield power over international affairs. But as it turns out, the New World Airport Commission is actually a real thing, and there are countless articles and documents to prove it. 36 years ago, the commission was formed by Charles Ansbacher, chair of the state's Council on the Arts and Humanities, to organize the airport's opening festivities. It was temporary and disbanded soon after the airport opened. The name New World comes from Dvorak's symphony, also known as the New World Symphony. A short glance away from the capstone, and you'll be face to face with these strange inscriptions on the ground. Like with most things, the majority of the public has shown divided interest in these ominous markings. Some think they're in a secret Kabbalistic language, and others don't mind the artistic works, but they're actually in a peculiar language called Navajo. Recently, most of these inscriptions have been translated, with some of them reading White Mountain, Tall River, and a sacred mountain for the Navajo people. Some other inscriptions like Ao and Ag have also caused serious stir. Now, some of you might think this is a nod to Colorado's rich mining history, and you'd be right. But on the opposite side, some folks think it's a secret code for a deadly pathogen called the Australian antigen, except antigens trigger immune responses. The irony here is the antigen is actually used to diagnose and treat hepatitis B, and not to wipe humanity from existence, which leads to the next major theory, Lucifer, the demon horse. After all, this horse did kill its creator, right? One of the major reasons why people believe the blue horse is evil, frankly, is due to its appearance. And if you disagree, well, imagine seeing this in your dreams. However, Lucifer's red eyes aren't as demonic as you might think. In fact, The red eyes that seem so ominous were actually a tribute to Jimenez's father, who taught him the value of creativity. Earlier in his life, his father owned a neon sign shop where he learned to weld and paint. Admittedly, everyone had their suspicions about Luis Jimenez's death when a piece of the 3,000-pound horse broke loose and severed an artery in his leg, but this could be waved off as nothing more than a freak accident. His wife would later recount a story of Jimenez investigating a noise late at night and being frightened by a pair of glowing red eyes in his living room. After his initial shock, he realized that they were those of his horse Blackjack, who had somehow gotten into the house. Jimenez said that sometimes things can seem frightening simply because they are unfamiliar or unexpected. Blackjack was also the model Jimenez used for the work, and the blue color was chosen because his horse had a mix of black and white hairs, giving it a particular bluish tint. Just as large as the 32-foot massive horse are the controversial murals by Tanguma. Leo Tanguma's 3-paneled mural, Children of the World, Dream of Peace, has been on the tip of many lips. The first panel, in particular, has raised a fury of eyebrows with its haunting imagery, which some claim foretells a dystopian future under the grip of a new world order. But, as with most things, context is key. The first panel shows the devastating effects of war, with grieving parents, ruined buildings, and children seeking refuge in the rubble. A faceless soldier is shown piercing a dove with their sword, symbolizing the destruction of peace.
Now, I want you to also pay attention to what type of soldier that is. It's a Soviet soldier. Or, now there's two things right here that's going on. That's either a Soviet soldier or a Ukrainian soldier. Looks like more of a Soviet soldier, does it not? Because of that sword. I could be wrong, but majority of people have said that that is a Soviet soldier on top with that knife right there. And correct me if I'm wrong, Russia is the Soviet Union, right? Russia at war with Ukraine.
This panel has understandably garnered the most attention, and you can see why. The second panel displays the catastrophic consequences of climate change, with dead animals and humans lying in coffins. Children from diverse backgrounds gaze on in shock and disbelief as a forest burns in the background. But the final panel offers a glimmer of hope, showcasing people from all walks of life embracing each other and rejoicing. Weapons of war are repurposed as tools for peace, and children lead the charge. A broken statue of the faceless soldier lies discarded, symbolizing humanity's triumph over aggression. However, when viewed as a whole, the mural tells a story of humanity's journey from darkness to light. While some of Tanguma's work may be unsettling, the overall theme is one of hope and resilience. But if you ever visit Denver's airport and can't find some of the giant murals, well, that's because they've been kept since renovation started in 2018. Nevertheless, its legacy lives on, sparking conversations outside and inside the airport. In June 2010, another sculpture
But then we noticed they changed them, and now look at this shit out here.
Caused serious outrage online. This was a 22-foot Anubis statue erected as part of an ad campaign for the Denver Art Museum.
Now this one was new. This Anubis one, I did not know about. I was like, okay, first you give us the apocalyptic horse. You got the talking gargoyles that are Illuminati. You got the cities underground. Shit leading to the temples in the Grand Canyon. Horses, pieces flying off and having haunting stories and shit. Then you have Anubis statue? If you're not trying to tell us that there are Egyptian, and this is why I said, They trying in Egypt. Real. See what I'm saying? This is what let me know right here. Yes, that Denver airport has some type of tunnel that is leading to that Grand Canyon where the Shiva, Krishna, Buddha temple. I said Shiva temple, right? Yeah, Shiva temple. Isis and Osiris temples. All that shit is leading to Denver airport. It has to. You put a fucking Anubis statue outside of it.
Despite being privately funded and removed after the exhibit ended, talks about the sculpture still persist in the darker corners of the internet. When you think of baggage claim in Denver, you think of murals and talking gargoyles. Although the airport has released several claims that gargoyles, perched on the east and west columns in suitcases, are meant to protect travelers' luggage, their demonic faces have led some to believe they're part of the airport's sinister agenda. Remember that oddly strange design? You might have noticed Denver Airport's roof bearing striking resemblance to the Ku Klux Klan hood, but the airport has also released official statements saying the designs are inspired by Rocky Mountains and the region's natural landscape. Now that's a pretty wild coincidence. Burial grounds. This was another of such claims. Not so long ago, the airport's construction faced so many setbacks, fueling early conspiracies. One allegation was that the site was built on an ancient Native American burial ground, causing the design and construction issues, as well as a metalworkers' strike. However, no Native American tribe or organization had made such claims. In fact, historical evidence proves the site was a hunting ground and not a burial ground. Equally, no evidence has been available to back up the group of construction workers that claimed some underground bunkers were secretly being built. The airport quickly released that these tunnels only stretch out to the airport's perimeter, covering a distance of less than 2 miles. Nonetheless, most people weren't satisfied. A few people saw some of these revelations as fictitious, but the majority of the public was still concerned. In reality, the tunnels beneath the airport are primarily for maintenance and baggage routing. You see, a couple of months over the deadline of the auto baggage system, the DIA board agreed to abandon the project as the overhead costs were already in the red, and maintenance of such a system would be ridiculous. While there may be some truth to the existence of underground facilities, there is no evidence to support the claim of massive buildings designed to sustain an elite colony through an apocalypse. But the sheer lack of evidence never stopped any group of extremists. A new branch later claimed the underground facilities were designed to detain those who challenged their authority. Another theorist proposed that. It's a deep underground military base, connected to the NORAD facility at Cheyenne Mountain via a tunnel. Take another blink, and these ideas raise significant logistical concerns, as the tunnel would need to be approximately 90 miles long, a feat that would surpass even the most impressive engineering achievements. While water tunnels can stretch quite the distance, a tunnel of this magnitude for military or transportation purposes is highly improbable. You do have to wonder, for all the conspiracy theories that have been floating around, from talking gargoyles to demon horses and underground bunkers, none seem to address why the all-wise and all-powerful Illuminati are so keen for everyone to know what they're hiding under Denver Airport. I mean, why go through the effort of placing so many blatant clues in broad daylight? Imagine hanging a big flashing sign with the words "Secret Base" lit up in Mustang red. Here's what Heath Montgomery, a spokesperson of Denver International Airport, told the Denver Post during 2016's October Conspiracy Month.
No matter what you do, you lose. You show people the tunnels and explain the symbols, you lose. You clam up and deny it, you lose. So that's why we've started to have fun with it, because people are going to believe what they believe, regardless of hard evidence.
However, If some mastermind was planning to wipe out humanity or make you click this video, hiding it in plain sight would be genius.
And see, that's the thing, right? The bunkers, I already, I kind of already know about what you're referring to too, Mind's Eye. So, yes, they do, and they do lead home as well. I do agree with you there. As far as the bunkers go and the presidents, right? So, I believe it was Reagan. I believe it was Reagan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Reagan? Was one of the presidents? No, Kennedy. Kennedy was one of the ones that they used in the bunker. It was, I think Kennedy was the first one, then Reagan. I have to look it up. But I believe it was Kennedy and then Reagan where they used the fake doubles. They had the real one downstairs in the bunker, and they had the fake one dying upstairs. Or the fake one making the speech, I should say, upstairs. Yes, definitely homage to the gods, to the Anunnaki gods. I definitely agree with you there. Yes, Kennedy. It was Kennedy. Okay. I couldn't remember which one it was. I knew it was Kennedy. I knew Kennedy was in one of them. I could have sworn they talked about either Reagan or Bush Senior. Was another one that they did too, where they had the body double, and one was upstairs and the other one was downstairs in the bunker, just in case. But yes, Denver Airport is pretty much doing the same exact thing with hiding these underground bunkers, and people think that, you know, people are stupid and not paying attention to that. Yeah, you got the talking gargoyle that's making jokes to people and whatnot, you know, to take your mind off shit. Typical Freemason like shit, right? Take your mind off of it. Yeah, I know I'm here, but I'm gonna take your mind off of me. I'm gonna take your mind off you knowing what the hell I am, okay? The whole airport just lets you know that there's something that's going to go down at the airport. Now, whether or not that's going to be a gathering spot or not, or some type of psyop is going to happen at the airport, that's starting to be my guess. When I'm seeing a headstone that says to the inhabitants of the Denver airport in 2094, you're trying to tell me something is going to happen between now and 2094 to where an apocalyptic event happens, and the people of Denver finally find this headstone that's buried underneath all the bullshit that didn't happen and said, oh, look at this headstone right here. It's 2094. I wonder what happened back then. It's a time capsule. That whole thing is a time capsule right there. What's crazy is the Broadmoor is the KKK headquarters, Colorado Springs. Yes. All ties together. It all ties together. Once again, yo, as I say every week now, I am here for the misinformed and uninformed. And for those who are already informed, come help us with the uninformed and misinformed.